Hey everybody, welcome back to Al-Asad, House of the Lion. I'm Frank Perrin, and today I'm here with the first of a series of a few different videos that we've been meaning to make on this channel for quite some time. And we wanted to make it because there's been a bit of a trend we've noticed in pop culture, popular media, so on and so forth, that shows warriors from different parts of the Middle East that generally tend to showcase them as wearing no armor or wearing some of the heaviest combinations of possible, right? You think about a lot of media shows the cliche desert warrior, right? And is just wearing robes and a turban and has a single sword and shield, maybe, right? And then you see in museums, right? They put up these amazing suits that are from Safavid, Mughal, and Ottoman empires that are full suits of mail and plate, right? And then even in a lot of pictorial references, we see full, complete suits, which is absolutely true, right? A lot of people were completely armored. But we can't forget preference. We can't forget what certain people chose to wear, what certain warriors decided was going to be most advantageous for them. So we wanted to do a video that talks about, in our perspectives, what we would choose to wear in a battle from our respective time period and respective cultures. So because my armor and my area of interest is Timurid, Iran, and some of the Iranian soldiers that served in Timur's army and what they brought to the battlefield, my kit and my loadout is going to be representative of that culture and some of those weapons. So we're going to start by showcasing some of the weapons. I'm going to explain the reasoning that I have chosen to bring these weapons into the battlefield. So weapon number one I'm going to start out with will be the Neze. All right, so here you have it. This is the Neze, a very, very broad-bladed, long spear, very, very effective for cutting, and also obviously for thrusting. It's a spear. And Nezes also tend to have very, very weighted butt caps, some even having balls on the end of them, like mace heads on the end. So you've got a very, very versatile multi-tool here. And because I'm a horse rider, I'm going to want a spear on horseback to begin with. So it's going to be a great weapon for me to use on horseback. But should I dismount, the Neze is also going to be highly effective for a few different reasons on the battlefield. Number one, which is my biggest reason for choosing these, every single type of soldier or armor loadout that I might meet in the battlefield, the Neze will be effective against. If it is someone who's not wearing any armor, well then the slash or the thrust is going to dispatch them, right? If they are wearing armor, well then I can still cut in the gaps of the armor. I can still thrust through certain openings to get where I need to, and I can use the other end to bash their armor, knock them unconscious, knock them silly, dispatch them, and get out of the way. So I chose the Neze for my first line weapon because it's going to keep me safe. It'll be effective on horseback and on foot. It's going to be a great grappling aid if someone gets too close to me. And it's going to be effective against a variety of different kinds of arms and armor that my opponents might be wearing. So yeah, the Neze is my first line choice, and one that I feel I'm pretty effective with, so I'm not too worried about losing it to begin with. So next, I'm going to move on to what my next line of weaponry would be. So my next line is going to be a large separ, or called khan, and a gors. Okay, so number one, I am going to stick with the gors because in Iranian military tradition and Iranian culture, the gors is a bit more culturally significant than the sword, right? The gores shows up in the Shahnameh, Rostam is using it, and you also see the gores a lot on horseback. You see a lot of soldiers of the region using the gores off horseback. And I also am going to use a larger shield, whether it is a traditional Sipar or like a Kalkan. Both were used in the region. Kalkans were not just Persian shields. Were not just Turkish shields. They were used in Iran, Mongolia. Styles like this were used in India, right? I just like this because of its size, its maneuverability, and it's a really comfortable shield. So for the exact same reason as the Neze, I'm going to use the gores. Because if I'm fighting someone on foot and they're not wearing armor, well, a mace is going to do a really good job of breaking bones, right? But if they are wearing armor, I'll be able to crush their armor. I'll be able to knock them down. I'll be able to incapacitate them, right? The gores is going to do its job no matter what my opponent's wearing. And this is the reasons why I chose not to include the sword, because the sword is going to have to force you to work a little bit harder to people who are wearing armor. Okay, if I have people who aren't wearing armor, the sword's going to be awesome. Now, don't get me wrong. With a Shamshir, you can absolutely thrust the gaps in armor. You could absolutely get to those gaps, and it's an effective anti-armor weapon. But it takes a little bit more skill. It takes a little bit more finesse. It takes a little bit more technique than you may have time for in a battlefield scenario situation. So instead of risking that, I'm going to choose a weapon that is just as fast, just as powerful, one that I can really use tight, close quarters. If there's a lot of people around me, it doesn't require a lot of room. It's fast, and I can control it very, very easily. And it's going to be good against a multitude of different kinds of people. So now we're going to move on to my final weapon. And finally, on my sash, I am likely to keep a Khanjar. Great backup weapon. It's going to be a great weapon that, again, I can use against so many different kinds of people. If you're not in armor, then I'm going to be able to slash, stab, thrust everywhere that I need to get on somebody. But if you are in armor, then the Khanjar is just as good at getting into the gaps of those armor, right? You can use it to hook the back of someone's neck, pull them down to the ground, and then get to the gaps from there. You can also use this in conjunction with your shield if you need to. And because I'm likely wearing Bazubans, I've got a great system of close quarters defense where I can get in tight and use this shield on whoever I need to use. So my entire reasoning behind this is choosing weaponry that will not be limited in its use by whoever I'm fighting. That's the big takeaway from this. And it's one that I urge other people to think about when they are going into a reenactment or they're putting together a reenactment kit. Logically speaking, in your region of the world, what was the commonality? What was the most common type of armor? Were people well equipped? Were they not well equipped? Are you in a frontier region where you might not be facing the most heavily armored people, right? So think about the weapons and how they be used against other people. So now I'm going to go ahead and put all this down, and I'm going to show you my loadout and kind of explain my reasoning that I have behind the pieces I chose to wear, the pieces I chose not to wear, and kind of all in all, why I feel that this loadout is optimized for me and my abilities. So the first piece I've chosen to keep are going to be my sakbans, or my leg and knee protection. And as a cavalryman, I'm going to want my legs obviously covered, because if I ride up to people on the ground, it's going to make it difficult for them to hit me with any weapon they have, and actually also to grab me. People don't realize how difficult it is to actually, with a bare hand, grab on to armor. It can be slippery, slides around, right? It's actually very, very difficult to actually grab someone when they're wearing armor. So I chose to keep my sock bonds on my lower legs as a cavalry person. They're light enough where if I disarm, where I dismount, it's not going to feel like it's gotten in the way as much. So next over here, obviously I've chosen my Bazubans. This is a much simpler version of a Bazuban that I have. I have another version that I'll show you after that has integrated hand protection on the top of your hand and your thumbs, and that's actually one that I would prefer to wear, but I'm actually currently fixing those as we speak, so I don't have them. But the Bazuban is really nice because it keeps your forearm protected, keeps your elbow protected, and it can be used as an extension of your shield should you need to. So up here you have one of the most iconic pieces. You've seen me wear my hula hood, and it is one of my favorite helmets I've ever worn to this day. It's a helmet that gives you great visibility, and I'm not too worried about my eyes, so to speak, with the average fighter, because again, I am using a larger shield to cover and protect myself, but this gives me great protection from a variety of different kinds of weapons, and it's overall the staple piece that you need, right? Going to keep your head protected. So I have chosen to keep this style of helmet. Now on to the torso. I have opted for a simple suit of long zera for male that goes down to my knees, and leather breastplate and backplate. Now, why did I omit the full steel lamellar? And that's quite frankly because I just don't feel like I need it. It's never a problem to have it. It would never hurt to have more armor, but I simply just don't feel like with the weapon sets that I have that I necessarily need to be covered head to toe in full steel everywhere. As a spearman, I'm going to be trying to be keeping most of my distance anyway. And if I'm good enough, someone's really not going to be able to land as a heavy blow with another weapon on me anywhere that's going to be easy to access. I have my helmet for that, right? And then even then, if I'm just using my shield, it's a large enough shield where any heavy blows with a mace or an axe to my shoulders or my upper legs, it's going to be really difficult to actually land a heavy blow there anyway, because I've got a large shield, and I prefer to move faster. I prefer to be a little bit more mobile, right? So between the large shield and my mobility, I am not too concerned about having heavy blows from axes or maces landing on my extremities. Decided to keep the leather lamellar on the torso though, because it's never a bad thing to have a little bit extra protection around your ribs, right? I've noticed I've taken some hits in the ribs when I've gone for some shots with my weapons that have been a little bit too high, right? If someone else is fighting you with a spear, you want to make sure you've got a little bit extra so you don't get pierced and it doesn't rip open your mail. So I consider the leather, the hardened leather, just a little bit extra protection around your vital squishy bits that is important for you to have. And I have my gores and my khanjar on my sash. So overall, this is what I would consider more of a medium kit, so to speak, that I feel like blends what you would expect a cavalryman to have. One that would also keep you pretty limber and mobile on your feet if you had to dismount. So yeah, that is my take on my preferred loadout, and I'm looking forward to see what other people in our group have to say.